Welcome back to Selling on Giants. Today's episode dives into one of the most critical aspects of succeeding on Amazon, managing and optimizing your product reviews. Reviews can make or break your listing, and fraudulent reviews or low reviews, i.e., critical reviews, can have a devastating impact on your bottom line. Joining us is Danan Coleman, co-founder of Ecom Triage. With over a decade of Amazon experience spanning from private label to wholesale to brand consulting management, Danan has seen it all. His expertise in review management and ASIN monitoring, along with his innovative solution like Catalog Defender and review removal services, make him the perfect guest to help us unpack this essential topic. We'll cover how to detect fraudulent reviews, strategies to improve your star rating, and actionable steps to protect your Amazon catalog. If you've ever struggled with managing your reviews or maintaining your ASIN health, this conversation is packed with invaluable insights. Let's get started. Before we get started with today's episode featuring Danan, here's a quick overview of some powerful takeaways you can start applying to your Amazon business today. First, the power of reviews. Maintaining a 4.3 star rating or higher is critical. Once you drop below 4.2, your product displays as 4 stars, leading to lost sales and ranking. To avoid this, monitor review trends weekly, identify patterns, and address negative reviews before they snowball into larger issues. Spotting fraudulent reviews. Fraudulent reviews can derail your product's success. Look for red flags like repeated reviewers on competing products, duplicate content, or overly vague comments. Investigating review patterns and responding quickly can help protect your product's credibility. Removing negative reviews. Danan breaks down how to increase your chances of removing problematic reviews. Use tools like the report button, email Amazon's community-help@amazon.com, and submit concise cases through Seller Central, focusing on violations like shopping complaints, medical claims, or personal data. Keeping a log of reported reviews ensures you can follow up and track results. Leverage tools like Catalog Defender. Tools like Catalog Defender help monitor ASINs for issues like split reviews, where variations lack consistency in ratings. This insight allows you to prioritize fixing for high-performing SKUs, boosting conversions, and profitability. Last but not least, diversify beyond Amazon. While Amazon is critical, diversification is essential for long-term success. Build out your Shopify presence, explore other marketplaces like Walmart or TikTok, and craft a brand story that creates trust and loyalty with your customers. With these takeaways in mind, let's jump into the full episode to hear Danan's insights and strategies in action. Hey,
Cool.
Danan, welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you here to talk about Amazon review strategies, spotting fraud, and boosting ratings. Before we get started, you've been in the Amazon ecosystem for over a decade. Can you share your journey into Amazon and how your diverse experience from supplements to arbitrage and private label has shaped your expertise today?
Yeah. So I'll say I stumbled into Amazon in 2010. A buddy of mine, so I'll give you the very short version. I could tell a lot about it, but what got me into Amazon is I got hit by a bus on my way to work. I was riding my motorcycle. I got hit by a bus. I was fully incapacitated, and at that time I was a traveling salesman. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm in, not even in a wheelchair. I'm in a bed, right?
Wow.
And so I had to figure out how to make money. And so I started off by outsourcing my sales skills to a couple of companies I was working for in all when I got hit, and then subsidiary companies around that I knew I could just do phone stuff through, right?
Mm.
And so one of the sister companies was a supplement company, and my buddy who was running it randomly texted me like, I got my vitamin on Amazon. And that was when I had the aha moment, like, wait, I don't need to be GE with a group of full-time think tankers that are dreaming up products to then put patents behind and stuff like that. I'm in. How do I do this? Can I sell this too? And he's like, yeah, I'll sell them to you. Like,
Wow.
perfect. So that day we set up an account on Amazon, and I listed the product with zero inventory, right? And so I'd get sales. It was right down the street from us, like 5 minutes down the road. I'd go buy what I
Oh,
sold and fulfill it. And I got to the point where I could buy a case of 12 and then fulfill 12, go buy another case. And so that's how we got started in Amazon. And then, at fast forward about 3 months of doing this, our best month ever was 63 units. Was it 61? 63? Let's just call it 63 units.
mhm.
It was 56 units. So we hit 56 units. And that was incredible for us because it meant that we got $500 profit. And
Nice.
that was enough to not, I'm on the verge of medical bankruptcy here, right?
Yep.
Because I, yeah, well, basically because I didn't have motorcycle insurance, thinking that my auto insurance covered me as well,
Wow.
but because I was on two wheels and not in four, it didn't. This is a
Wow.
naive 20-something-year-old,
Yeah, we've all been there before.
Yeah. So and that was a huge win for us. And then from there it progressed to another company that knew I was selling on Amazon but was not contractually allowed to sell this supplement on Amazon. We struck a deal where they gave me the inventory up front and then we paid them for the inventory after it sold. And then that's pretty much how I built our company, and the built it around was I get exclusivity to a brand on Amazon. We get the inventory on consignment, so we don't have to pay anything at all. And on consignment means into FBA warehouses. I don't see this inventory, right?
Hmm.
And then we pay once a month. So on the 5th of every month, all the numbers are reconciled with, by then, all the numbers are reconciled with Amazon. And then we pay out but we've done arbitrage, we've done private label. I'm not that great at private label because it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Props to the people that do it. I hate it. Um, it's a real business now, and I don't want to be doing that.
Now,
um,
how long were you a seller before you moved into kind of the service part of your life?
so let's see. 8 years. Selling
Oh,
eight
okay.
years. Yeah, I think that's right. Um, no, no, that's correct. Yeah, 8 years, and then I went over to Managed by Stats. I was a beta tester for Managed by Stats, and I just called the CEO and like, "Hey, dude, I'm bored. I've watched every cat video on YouTube, and so I'm coming to work for you part time." He said, "Forget that." First of all, he said, "Why the f would I hire you?" Because he knew what we were selling and how much money we were making and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm bored, dude. I'm bored. I need structure in my life. He's like, "All right, cool, but you're coming on full time." I'm like, "Dang it! All right, fine, I'll come on full time." And so I worked at Managed by Stats for 4.5, maybe almost 5 years.
Hmm.
And I did their podcast and their live streams and the training videos. We did a weekly news, my wife and I. That was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun
Yeah, that's cool.
where we were both anchors and it was funny. And I was like,
What? Oh,
yeah,
that's cool. You had it as a podcast or a video series?
it was a video series and it's still up there today. And basically it kind of depicts how it's real life is for my wife and I, because like I'm the silly one and she's like, "Oh god, I can't believe you just said that thing," you know. And so we just but I accentuated that, and so it was a lot of fun, but it was an entire day's worth of work just
Oh,
to
I
do that.
believe it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could see that.
um then then Carbon 6 was,
Mhm.
scooping up companies like nobody's
Yep.
business, and so I helped kind of broker that sale of Managed by Stats Carbon 6. Went there as strategic partnerships, uh and then I was at a couple of other contracting at a couple of other companies a little bit here and there
Mhm.
now. And then a year and a half almost at Tracefuse. Now I have Ecom Triage that I've so that's 6 years in the software and SaaS space.
Mhm.
So considering that I built my network for 6 years at this point, it's quite vast. And as I've got experience as both a seller and a software provider, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna put the two together and help as many brands and agencies as I can.
Nice.
You know, yeah. So that was what ecom triage was kind of born out of, and that's what I'm doing full time now. And that,
Beautiful.
yeah, the name triage. That my purpose is go into a business, go, where are you leaking money? Where aren't you getting your money? Or
Hmm.
where are you overspending? And let's figure out, start at the top. What's the most good? Let's fix that. Fix the next thing, fix the next thing, fix the next thing. Off you go. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said about operational efficiency. I feel like it's
Mm.
one of the most underappreciated, overlooked areas of a business. A lot of times when prospects come to us and they're like, they have all these problems, they're always like advertising, advertising. And you're like, hey
Mm-hmm.
guys, you're bleeding over here. Why don't we fix this? And then, we can help you with the advertising. So
Yeah.
I can definitely see, and your experience as a seller is robust and just your journey in the Amazon ecosystem. So that is really cool.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I just, you know, I don't say this with any uh, ill intent. And in fact, I consider myself a part of this group, but I believe that by and large, our group of Amazon sellers are complete, not even amateur level business people,
Mm,
because we don't have any prior experience that goes, I know that I'm going to need a CRM in place. I know I'm going to
mhm.
need a CPA. I know I'm going to need all these things. I know
Yeah.
I need an LLC or an S Corp or a C Corp or whatever. It's like, just start an LLC, I guess. Where? Delaware or Florida?
Yeah.
Like, why would I go to Delaware? I'm in Texas, you know?
Yep.
So like there's just lots of things where yes, operationally it can really be cleaned up and made more efficient. And look, I don't even consider myself a professional in these areas, but I have enough experience to at least help somebody, right? And
Mm.
that's the goal.
And that's a big part of it too. And to your point, a lot of the brands we work with too, and I'm sure you experience the same as a seller, you tend to be mission driven. So like the
Mm.
owner of the business is focused on solving this problem and they're usually really passionate about it. So to your point, when it comes to the accounting, the CPA, the reconciliation, everything that goes on, a lot of times it could just be overlooked because it's not what they're passionate about and it's not deemed
Yeah.
as important.
Yeah, a perfect example of that would be doctors, like dentists, chiropractors, stuff like that. They come out of school and they're like, I know everything about your teeth,
Yeah.
right? And so they go, now I'm going to take my $430,000 of debt. I'm going to go start my own practice. And then they open their doors and go, where the hell is everybody? Like,
Yeah.
oh shit, I forgot I'm not a business person. I'm not a
Yeah.
marketer. I'm a doctor. And so having someone to help complement,
Mm.
even if it's chat GPT, to
Yeah.
complement, you just go, this is what I do. These are where my skill sets lie. What am I missing in my business to make sure that it runs efficiently?
Yeah.
That'll get you started.
I love the analogy too. I'm gonna steal that from you, but don't worry, there'll be royalties on the way.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, that statement makes me lots and lots of money, of course.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, no, let's jump into the main topic. I know our listeners are all about reviews. Like I can't tell you how often I hear, what do I do when I get reviews that are fraudulent or that don't make sense, or when they're, a negative review about my FBA fulfillment and then Amazon doesn't want to remove it. And we hear
Yep.
tons of horror stories of sellers who have literally lost their shirts due to, negative reviews and really not Amazon not being supportive in removing them.
Yeah.
So with that being said, super high level, I like to start kind of broad just to kind of educate our listeners, and then we'll dive deeper into some tactics that our sellers here that are listening can actually apply to their accounts today to improve their overall ratings on some of their top products. So, to kick it off, what role do reviews play in success as an Amazon seller, and why should they be a top priority for maintaining a healthy account?
Yeah. So I feel like at this stage, pretty much everyone knows that reviews is among the most critical things, especially in the launch period of a product, right? But the review system is how the buyer gauges the value of your product as,
Mhm.
so the review, the pictures, the price, right? And so you marry those things together, and brings you essentially to the buying decision. Features, of course, that, but those are three major parts, right?
Yeah.
And so if you launch a product, and let's just say you launched a product that you knew had a failure point, a critical failure point, like a ruler that broke in half after you opened it out of the package, right? You're going to get a bunch of negative reviews,
Yeah.
right? So you're going to have, let's just say you got your first review is a 5-star because your mom loves you, right? And and for some reason Amazon didn't track that was your mom and shut that review down, which totally happens.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So you've got a 5-star, you put some advertising behind it, and then all these 1-stars start coming in and say, hey, my 12-inch ruler is only 6 inches, 2 6-inch rulers because it broke in half, right?
Mm.
Immediately. And so you're going to crash down in the review system. Amazon's not going to place you, right? So first of all, you don't get eyeballs on your listing. Second of all, buyers see, hey, that's a 3.2 star, 3.5 star, and everyone else is 4.5, right? I'm not buying that one. It's got
Mm-hmm.
26 reviews. They're all negative. Forget that. So boom, your conversion rate goes kaput. And so Amazon just doesn't place you at all anymore. You're just irrelevant
Yeah.
because nobody likes the product. So Amazon looks at a lot more in reviews than you think that they do, and uses a lot more data than you would initially think they would. You'd think it'd be a mathematical equation, and it's not. Right?
Yeah.
So now if you have one review, yes, it's mathematical. 1 5-star equals 5 stars, right?
Yeah.
But the more reviews you get, the more content in those reviews, the more keywords that are in those reviews, the reviewers that are leaving those reviews, what's their review history, stuff like that. That all plays a factor into the weight rating of a 5-star, because a 5-star isn't a 5-star, right?
Yeah.
What I mean, let me rephrase that. A 5-star is not the same 5 stars the 5-star this other person gave you, because Amazon can see that person only ever gives 5 stars and has 3 words in their reviews. All right, we'll take that with a grain of salt. This other person has a diversity of reviews, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, some 1s as well, and they're all well written. They're at least 200 characters long. So, by the way, the 200 character rule, that's based on Google, but I'm quite sure that Amazon is employing something very similar. 200 characters would be my guess. If it's 200 characters, they consider it a well-written review.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a Google thing. But I have seen Amazon over the years take a lot, and I mean a lot, of data that Google figures out in their algorithms and employ it into their own.
I'm
And
not surprised. Yeah,
yeah, I'm not
Google wrote the book. Why would they reinvent the wheel? So that
exactly.
makes sense.
Yeah, because Amazon is a search engine just like Google is, but it's product based,
Yeah.
right? And so the world of SEO, search engine optimization, of Google SEO translates very well into Amazon SEO, except Amazon SEO is just niche, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
products.
exactly. So but now we've got Rufus, or Doofus, as Antonio, an acquaintance of mine, Antonio Bindi, came up with. Absolute genius, by the way. But yeah, I mean, I think that you should start putting text into your images for SEO purposes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally. And we know that Amazon's scraping that, and they're totally looking at reviews. They're looking at Q&As, and they're using that to make recommendations through Rufus. Then they're having AI generated buyer guides. And it kind of existed before, because we know like top rated product, top selling product, that is a lot of it is based
yeah,
on sales velocity, but also the feedback, because you're not going to get those badges or features, to your point, if you have a 3.5 rating. Do you
yeah,
find there's a certain rating threshold where it's like, all right, I mean,
yeah,
tech, like when we tell our brands, is like you kind of want to be above 4, but there's some categories that are more subjective. Anything with like taste
yeah,
or jewelry or apparel, they tend to get lower reviews because people tend to be more picky. Do you have like
yeah.
a baseline number that you look at to say, if hey, if your rating is below X, like you need some help?
Yeah, the baseline number is this is the critical fulcrum point, is 4.3 to 4.2.
Oh, okay,
Because
so you're going high fours. Okay, well,
yeah,
highish fours.
yeah. So basically, at a 4.3, you are displaying 4.5 stars. At a
Oh, okay.
4.2, you are displaying 4 stars,
Oh,
right?
interesting.
Yeah. So if this is across now, yeah, like you laid out, and I totally back you up on this. It is highly category dependent,
Hmm.
right? Because if you're selling a fat burner supplement and you're at 3.8, you're making $1 million a month. You know what I mean? But if you're selling a I don't know, a Bluetooth speaker and you're at 3.8, you're not,
Yeah, yeah, it's
you
as
know?
simple as that too.
Yeah. So and like you said, when it comes to things that are subjective, flavor, like someone that sells a protein bar and it's for athletes and they don't want any binders in there. So it's dang powder, right?
Yeah.
And that's what your power lifters want. But then a mom gets it and she's like, this is like eating chalk,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, that's subjective, and it's so I think that some people will allow a margin of error on products like that have lower reviews.
Mm,
But that 4.2 to 4.3, that is the fulcrum point blanket statement. And then there are intricacies that factor
of
into where
course.
that may not be the case, right? But you will lose somewhere between 25 and 50% of your sales, and it'll
Wow.
be overnight.
That is, and it kind of makes sense too, because to your point, what you brought up earlier, it's like what they see in search, your title, your price point, the main image, and that reviews. And I know for a fact I talk to lots of shop, like who doesn't know somebody shops at Amazon, family, friends, and everyone else. And majority of the time they're looking at that review and that star rating before it influences the purchase decision. There's no way around it. And to kind of summarize it for our sellers, so like the ramification of poor reviews is slow down a sales velocity, a loss in ranking inside search. It wasn't mentioned, but I know you lose buy box if you get enough NCXs. Amazon will say, well, no buy box for you because of the poor
Yeah.
quality of the product.
Yep.
Are there any that I'm leaving out?
So there's conversion rate and then there's cost of PPC.
Yeah, there you go.
So as your conversion rate decreases, you of course have to drive more traffic to make the same amount of sales. And so it costs you more. So one of the byproducts of, oh, actually, I want to back up for just 1 second and just tell you that let's say you're watching your reviews like a hawk,
Mm.
right? And you get that one last review that breaks that camel's back, and you boom, you are down to a 4.3, right? Typically what you'll see is it goes 4.3, 4.2, 4.3, 4.2, 4.3, 4.2, and every time it goes down to a 4.2, it's at a 4.2 for a little bit longer, and then boom, it's just stuck there, right?
Wow.
And so you know that somewhere around this time period that you got these critical reviews, and for definition, to define a critical review, it's a written 1, 2, or 3 star. That's
Mm.
how Amazon defines a critical review, not a critical rating, because that's just the stars, but a critical review.
Hmm.
So it may not, because of the weighting system, you may go, oh, cool. Well, let me go ahead and find a few reviews that are in violation of the community guidelines and submit on those and get 1 or 2 removed. But because a 5 star review from here isn't the same weight as a 5 star review from here, you may not necessarily need to remove only 1 or 2 reviews. It might be 5,
Wow. Oh,
right?
because of how it's
Could,
weighted.
yeah, yeah. Which I support. I support the different weighting system because if you didn't have that, then you could fraud would likely be even more rampant than it is, and I see a lot of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
Amazon has SWAT teams around it. I mean, it's and I think they do a good job compared to some other platforms for sure. As much as I like to give Amazon some crap, but um,
don't we
yeah,
all? Well, it's only reciprocal, right?
yeah, exactly. Well, on that note too, so we're talking about what constitutes reviews that are eligible for review. So you mentioned terms of service as one, and like I'd love to kind of go in like what are the typical areas that negative reviews can be considered removable?
Yeah. So um, I'll start off by answering your question with an answer that is either upsetting or doesn't make sense. Just because it qualifies to be removed does not mean that Amazon will remove it,
Mhm.
right? It's an extremely unfortunate scenario that I have been trying to find a definitive resolution to for quite some time, having actually gone to Seattle twice specifically to locate and meet Amazonians that could help point me in the right direction. So far, both times have been, I'm not going to say a dead end, but not a resolution.
Mm.
So your Bible when it comes to does a review violate or not is Amazon's community guidelines. That's a
Mhm.
public document. You can just type in Amazon community guidelines on Google and you will find the link to it. And there's a section called What's Not Allowed. And that is specifically tailored towards reviews.
Mm.
What's not allowed in the reviews. And the biggest offenders are reviews that are FBA related or shipping related,
Mm.
have curse words in them,
Mm.
are defamatory, have personal uh personal PII, personal data. I
Okay.
can't remember what it stands for. Basically, like, hey, John Francis lives in Seattle in the Bumbo district, and you can't have that stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Another big one is medical advice. So you see this
Oh,
fairly often in supplements. It's like it's a 1 star, and I think most often they're fraud, but there are people that are just trying to genuinely help. It's 3 star review and it says, look, I asked my doctor about these and they said that you shouldn't be taking this if you are 6 foot or taller, right? Okay, well, hang on a second. Who the hell is this doctor? Who the hell are you?
mm.
And how the hell do I know that that's accurate or not? Right.
Yeah,
So Amazon will, I wish I could say Amazon will jump on those. There's a better chance of those being removed.
yeah.
At the end of the day, it really depends on the person that sees the case or email that's coming through, whether they had a great cup of coffee or not, or if they spilled it in their lap, right?
Yeah,
Because they got rear-ended on the way to work,
yeah.
right? And you can, I think we all have experience fighting with Seller Central, where especially in like the COVID time when Amazon, they, so there was a time when Amazon was grading the statistics on the support team by how fast they resolved cases. And
Mm.
so there was a massive amount of people that would put a case through and it would be resolved without any response or anything. And they're like, what? Like, nobody even read this? What the hell? Um, so it's kind of like that, unfortunately. So administratively, it is a world of hurt when it comes to trying to get reviews removed, but it can be done. The best I've ever heard from any seller is they got 5% of their reviews removed, which is phenomenal.
Hmm.
A phenomenal statistic. The average is most often so far below 1%. I'm just rounding down to not
Wow.
successful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I went on a bit of a rant there. I hope I
It's
answered.
super helpful though, and you hit a lot of spots too, and like the shipping we see all the time, the
Mhm,
medical, which makes sense, personal information.
mhm.
My question for you around fraudulent reviews. So that seems like it's really hard to identify, and I guess how do you recognize like what are outside of somebody being like this product stinks, use John's product over here.
Yeah.
That's probably pretty obvious that it's a competitor. But are there any algorithmic traces, anything you could see? Like any
So
tips on how
we,
do you identify those?
yeah, so there are some visual data points that you can look at for sure. We have software to specifically calculate lots of things.
Hmm.
Like well, let me put it to you this way. If you were able to download all of your reviews, which today, for some asinine reason, Amazon does not allow you to download all your past reviews. They only show you the last 100, right? On each star. Which little side rant here, that is public information that leads to the overall rating of your review. And I think it should be illegal for them to hide that information, right?
Yeah.
But that's a little side rant. uh, so you can look at the, if you can download your reviews or even just look at them and categorize them by most recent, do you see a sudden spike in the number of critical reviews that you get? Right. So before Black Friday, before Lightning Deal, sometimes I see people come through, like they contact me and we just hit a 4.2. We just got a whole bunch of negative reviews in and we hit 4.2. What can you do? Right. And so we look and, like, sure enough, the average number of critical reviews in a day is 1 for the last 5 years. And you just got hit with 17 in 4 days.
Sounds afoot.
Yes. So that's one thing that you can manually do. That one's a lot less easy than the next ones I'm going to give you. So number one is look at the buyer account. Their last 16 reviews are viewable, right? And just look for patterns. If you sell a can of soda, did they just leave 4 reviews on 4 different cans of soda within a 1 week period, 2 week period? 3 of them are hot trash, and one of them is the best thing since sliced bread. Suspect.
Yeah.
Right? Another one is, are you seeing reviews that have the same content? Right? The same picture. Written exactly the same, maybe, well, first of all, duplicate content for sure, right? But is it written almost duplicate with the exception of a couple of words? And they're 3 days apart, right? So that's another thing you can be looking at. So I'd say most sellers just look at the review and go, that's suspicious. I don't like that. I don't believe that. I don't think that person I didn't sell this on this date, whatever it is. Yeah. Right. But I don't know that a lot of them go, who is Mrs. Finagle Bagels? Yeah. Right. Yeah. And look at the account. Oh, I'll give you another one. There are accounts that only have 1 review, and the account name is the same damn name as the title of their review. The account name.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Some people are not very good at being sneaky. I can see that.
Well, look, I would prefer it that way.
Yeah, true.
I'd want the criminals to be stupid so that we can easily find them.
Yep.
Sadly, they are in many cases getting better and better at this because more and more of them are getting slapped down because we're finding it. Right? So yeah, anyhow, there are things that you can look at, but you have to dive into the data. That's the most important thing. Now, this is very time consuming, right? Yeah. And so the question then becomes, well, dang, do I spend an hour and a half going down the rabbit hole trying to find this so that I can write a 3/4 inch tome to a 3/4 inch book to Amazon about how this is definitely a fraudulent review? And I'll tell you what your response is going to be on that. Nothing. Nothing. Because they don't want to read your rant. They don't care.
They get enough of that on the seller forums, that's for sure.
For sure. But, we're talking about a different team here. Community help is not even Seller Central, right? Or seller support, I mean. So it's a separate team. Then you've got seller performance, a separate team. Then you've got tiers within these teams, right? So they just don't care. They don't care about your one little review that made you feel bad, because that's how they're reading it. Like, oh, here's another one with a
Yeah.
tirade. It's got to be short. It's got to be to the point. You have to keep all of your emotion out of it because they don't
Hmm.
care about your emotions. They
Hmm.
want facts. Unfortunately, often they don't even care about the facts. But
Unfortunately.
yeah,
So
but
that's pretty interesting. So when you get, so we identify a fraudulent review. Are you running the case through case support and you're just being very concise and kind of pulling out all the fluff and then just constantly following up till they remove it? Or is there a point where you're like, we tried everything we could. This isn't one we can remove. And do you do one at a time or do you do them in bulk if there is an issue where it's like to your point, 16 within a week when historically you don't have that kind of low
yeah.
review volume?
So we do it one at a time. Every review has its own case, but you can't inundate Amazon with a whole bunch of emails. And so, first of all, in the case of ecom triage, you as the seller have the report button and community help, which by the way, Amazon stripped out the community help email from the community guidelines document. It used to be at the bottom and they stripped it out.
Hmm.
They tell you to contact community help and then don't tell you how. So that email,
Lovely.
everybody, is community-help at amazon.com. Try not to blow it up, you know,
Mhm.
but it is there for your use. Amazon just, once again, in their infinite wisdom, uh, hid the data, made it
Yeah.
harder to find. I try not to go on rants, but Amazon's kind of like dealing with the IRS. It's like you have to know what you don't know if you want us to respond to
Exactly.
you,
And we're
and
going
we're
to
not going to
charge you
tell
all
you.
that interest, even if you made the mistake. Yeah, I'm
Exactly.
with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
So I have 10, 12 different teams, forms, methods of reaching out to Amazon.
Wow.
The seller has a known three: community-help at amazon.com, the report button, and then putting a case through Seller Central, Seller Support,
Yeah.
which they will not always, but often respond to you. We don't deal with this. You need to reach out to community help.
Wow. And I have done plenty of reporting in my time. I have found that rarely works. Have you seen success with actually pushing a little report button?
Not a single time.
Yeah, I didn't
You,
think so.
I have tried it with literally thousands of reviews. I have
Wow.
never seen a single. So I tried this as a test. What happens if I just hit the report button?
Hmm.
Nothing. Nothing happens. So I went, okay, what happens if we hit it every 3 days? Nothing.
Wow.
So it is my belief that the report button is not there for anyone to take action. I don't believe it actually goes anywhere, even though they say it does and that they'll look into it. Right.
Hmm.
I could be wrong, but I believe that this is purely to aggregate data. And then they'll look at it at a certain time and then batch it.
Wow.
Right. And so uh, occasionally we sellers, we get these emails saying, we found a review that was involved with fraudulent or with suspected fraud. And so we
Yeah.
removed it from this ASIN.
Yep.
Okay. What was the review? We're not telling you.
Yeah,
Maybe
we
they
kept time.
do they do they give you the ASIN?
I
I
don't.
can't.
I think they give
They
you the
may
ASIN because I've
do they
seen
get
them. I
okay.
don't think they tell you who and
They don't.
where. They're just like, hey, we removed this. FYI.
Yeah. And they don't tell you the review, they don't tell you the star rating of that review
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes it's
so
5 stars. I've seen that.
it's usually 5 stars.
Mm.
Usually 5 stars. So I've seen enough of these to gather enough data and know that okay, we did not have a critical review drop off in this time frame. This 36 no, call it 3 day, 72-hour time frame. We did not have a critical review drop off. So, but there is a decrease in the number of reviews, so it must have been a 4 or 5 star.
Mm. That's always killer. Man, they don't make it easy for sellers, that's for sure.
No, they don't. And really, look, the service that I render on this, it shouldn't be necessary.
Mm.
You go to feedback, seller feedback. There's a form, and you just say, hey, this is the thing, and they're quick about it usually. But
Yeah, that's right. The seller feedback, that's easy to get striked out. That's not the product reviews that are the challenge for sure.
Yeah. 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 So the ecom triage is basically kind of the umbrella over the review removal, catalog defender, and the PPC consulting, and then PPC monitoring and repair. Sorry, not monitoring, but PPC audits and repair.
Okay.
Um, Really, the two things that ecom triage is some consulting. I do the review removal and the catalog defender, but my purpose is to refer out to people that can help them.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
So definitely more of a what do you call that? A connector. There's a better word for that,
Yeah.
but I'm
Yes.
getting
Yes.
to the end of the day, I'm getting kind of burnt.
I hear you, man. I hear you. But
All
yes,
right.
I'm not you. I would dare say that I'm a jack of all trades and but a master of none, right?
Mm, yeah.
Except for when it comes to networking and communication lines. I'm extremely good at that. And also finding out what people need and want.
Mm,
And then usually in that conversation, it just like pops in my head. Oh, I know who I know for that. I'll refer you out. And I'll just do an intro email and I'll just go, cool, here you go, here you go, there you go. You know,
nice. I like it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
like it. I used to work with Chris Freiberger. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, I know who that is. The
Yeah, he did a
the
lot of
original
that.
connector in the space
Yeah, that's right.
with his, yeah,
The
that's his
hand. Yeah, I was
logo
trying to
right
think of the
there.
name of the business. That's too funny. A
Yeah.
great model. Really worked out for him. Now he's in the M&A space. So it's such crazy
Yeah.
how people evolve. That's for sure. Awesome. So Dana, thanks. So some of the steps that you said about, can you actually rehash some of those steps you mentioned about review removal? Like what's some of your
Yeah.
processes and what should a seller consider if he has a handful of reviews that they're trying to get removed?
Yeah. So without giving away the farm, of course, because it's
Of
taken a
course.
long time to gather this data and put it together into a usable model. But basically, use the report button. I highly recommend using the report button. I I've never seen a direct result from it, but it's there. Use it because
Mm,
Amazon says, if you have a problem, use the report button. So go ahead and do that. Community-help.com. Report reviews there. Keep it succinct. They don't want your life story because they just don't care, right? Keep it succinct. The third one is going to be seller support, right? Not all the time, but probably often or most often, they're going to tell you, hey, this is review related. We don't have anything to do with that. Reach out to community help. And
mm,
Amazon and community help is going to say, yeah, use the report button, right?
mm,
So I think that's done on purpose. But, you know, if it's a fraudulent review, then you need to inform seller support that this is a fraudulent review. There are different protocols, I think, that support goes through if there's fraud, right? So since the FTC is kind of backhanding Amazon a little bit, not that they feel it, um, in regards to fraud and fraudulent reviews and being a global pig dog and
mhm,
capitalist pig and stuff like that, they're a little bit on the defensive on that side. So I think they take those a little bit more seriously.
mm,
Um, yeah. So, and then of course there's also if you're brand registered, you can report stuff through brand registry.
that's interesting.
Yeah. So there is actually a form in brand registry to report reviews. Now, here's the interesting thing. You never get a reply, not ever. And every single case is transferred and you don't know where and they don't know where.
Nice. Do they communicate with you at least via email, or is it more like, thanks for submitting? We'll see if we get back to you.
Yeah, so when you submit the brand registry cases, it's a form, right?
Mm,
There's nothing. There's nothing. And they
that's
don't tell you they don't tell you, "Hey, we got your case. You're totally right. We removed the review. Thanks for letting us know."
yeah.
No, 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 no. So I have actually, I've got a document that I've been putting together for quite some time, just gathering data and just it's a live Google document that I'm continuously altering. I changed the prompt. I've got a prompt in there to determine if reviews are in violation, and in there I have a little suggestion on keeping track of your reviews that you're
Mm,
reporting because you want that review link because that's the only way you're ever going to tell if that review is still there. If you've reported it, is by clicking on the review link with the unique review ID, and either that review is live or it goes to a Dogs of Amazon page.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Boy, it's such a manual process. I could see that for a small catalog that being a good solution, but I'd
Yeah,
imagine with larger sellers that could be very tedious and time consuming.
it is. It is extraordinarily tedious and time consuming. And for yeah, so for smaller catalogs, I've definitely had quite a few customers that have got 30, 40, 50 critical reviews and they onboard and I tell them like, look, and this is an interesting thing. So with reviews, my company is able to remove somewhere between 5 and 15% of all
Okay.
of your available critical reviews. So for every 100 critical reviews, somewhere between 5 and 15. Now, with it seems that the lesser the number of the reviews, the lesser the chances of having that upper percentage of
Hmm.
removal.
Interesting.
And yeah, so, but often you get one or two or three reviews removed, 4 or 5 reviews removed, you're set, right?
Yeah.
It can because those few reviews, when you don't have a lot of reviews, those critical reviews hold a heck of a lot more weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and just a little side note here, a 1 star written review roughly holds the same weight of around 10 5 stars, somewhere
I
between
believe it.
7 and 15.
I
So,
believe it. We always say
yeah,
like the first 15 reviews are the most critical, and obviously like you can't control those reviews, and if you use the Vine program, it could be hit or miss, especially
yeah,
if depending on the types of products. So
yeah. Don't
definitely,
do supplements on Vine. I learned that one.
yeah.
That's well, I should say anything that's highly subjective,
Yeah.
flavor, uh, you know, results oriented. Like, I took this 3 times and I didn't lose 80 pounds. You
Yeah.
know,
Or something
uh,
very niche. I noticed
yeah,
that too.
maybe,
Like I had
yeah,
we were working with a brand that was selling something for kids, but could be indexed for kids or adults, and adults were buying it and leaving reviews that were negative, and it was like it's not for
yeah,
you. But you know what are you gonna do? The Vine program just
yeah.
I'm
I
not sure how they recruit, but they're not always as they're not always as vetted out as they should be.
I fully agree. I've in one case I have found a Vine account, Vine reviewer that was un totally fraudulent.
Wow.
Yeah, like all of their reviews were baloney. Um, but at the same time, Amazon protects their Vine reviewers. And here's an interesting thing about Vine reviewers, and I'm trying to remember where I saw this and find it again. But I read on Amazon that Vine reviewers are required to have review diversity. They can't just all do one
Oh.
stars. They can't just all do 5 stars, right?
Hmm.
They must have diverse reviews. And so if you're getting 3 or 4 stars on your reviews from a Vine review, but a wonderful review, and you wonder, well, what the heck? Why isn't that 5 stars? Why'd you give me 4? Right?
Yeah.
That is why.
Interesting.
That a contributing factor. So I'm trying to find out where that is. I think it was in the terms of service of being a Vine reviewer because I was going through that to do that once.
Wow.
But I don't remember where I saw it exactly.
That's pretty crazy. And it kind of makes sense too, because Amazon wouldn't want somebody to be so easy because then the reviews are less believable. But at the same time, sellers are paying for that. I side with the sellers. They need to make it I honestly either 1 or 5 stars. I think it make it pretty simple for the Vine reviewers.
Yeah. Well, so I would say 1, 3, or 5, right?
That's a
It's
good one.
either good, neutral, or bad.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, if it's neutral, and here's the thing is that if you look at seller feedback, 4 and 5 stars are positive,
Hmm.
okay? 3 stars neutral, 1 and 2 stars are bad. You look at product reviews, 1, 2, and 3 are bad.
I never noticed that. That's
Yeah, so
interesting.
they define a 3 star as a critical review. It truly should be treated as neutral
Yeah.
because it is a neutral review. And the reviewer should treat it as neutral, like, it's not exactly what I was. Well, we could go deep into this, but you know, uh, just because the review system is based on 5 stars, Google's based on 5, Yelp
Yeah.
is based on 5. Um,
Trust
what's that?
Pilot,
Trustpilot. What's the travel one? Um,
uh, TripAdvisor.
yes, thank you. TripAdvisor. So they're all based on 5 stars, right? It would be horrible if it was based on 10, because now you've got 10 different options.
Oh
And
my
then
God.
algorithmically, it would be even worse. But maybe a 3 star system would be better. That'll never happen. But
Yeah. They're in too deep now, but as you're saying
yeah,
that, I'm like, I
exactly.
wonder how 3 stars would be. Good,
Yeah.
neutral, not so good, but
Yeah.
added to the wish list. I don't know if Andy Jassy is going to pull that. He seems to have a lot of other operational things in mind, but it is good to know. And to your point, reviews are important, how they rank it. And while
Yeah.
3 is not negative as a seller, I could see how it's a negative on the product side because
Product side.
your point, 4.2, 4.3 is what you're looking for. So
Yep.
regardless of what Amazon deems it, you want 4 and 5 star reviews, and obviously a lot more 5 star reviews than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I've even had people ask me, hey, can you remove 4 star reviews? I'm like, technically that I guess that's possible, but why?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Well, yeah. So if your reviews are so good that you've got 4 stars dragging down the average, you're doing all right.
Yeah, you're doing all right. You need to find
Doing all
other
right.
things to occupy your time and business.
Exactly.
That's for
Spend
sure.
your money on other things than paying to have 4 stars removed.
Yeah, that's
You
too
know?
funny.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, Danon, this was super, super good conversation. We went really deep on reviews, and I do
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing not the secret sauce, but a lot of what you do in order to get some of these reviews removed, how to
Yeah.
identify fraudulent behavior, and also where to find information to find out if reviews are violating Amazon's terms of service. Before
Yeah.
we jump on to talk about e-com triage and what you do professionally, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I'd just like to say one last thing about this. I think that so the information that I give you about reviews is enough to get your feet wet and still have you spend a lot of time
Hmm.
just with the little bit that I've done. We go we go roughly 5 times deeper in terms of escalation strategies and teams and stuff like that. Um, but if I can give enough information to enough sellers for this to, I wouldn't call it a revolution. Ooh, a revolution.
Revolution. That could work.
Start a revolution. So I'm not. I don't want to necessarily start a revolution here, but I, as a seller myself, I think it is brutally unfair for us to not have support from Amazon, to
Hmm.
have Amazon enforce their own freaking policies.
Yeah.
It's not okay.
And it's insane. It happens on the review side, but also happens with lost inventory, damaged
Totally.
product. And if you don't track it, and Amazon's like, oh, we're doing it now on the back end. They're not doing
Yeah.
it all. They're not, it's like,
I've gotten, yeah, so they've always said that. They've always
yeah.
said that they handle that automatically. And and sure, every now and again I get this thing where, oh yeah, there's $76 or whatever.
Hmm.
But my wife has, we always traditionally, many years ago, we would do this stuff manually, right?
Yeah.
Amazon never did this stuff. And uh, really all Amazon did was make a public statement saying, don't you worry, little seller that's
Hmm.
responsible for 63% of our sales. We're taking care of you. Father or mother government, big brother,
Yeah.
big brother's taking care of you. And you can trust us. And so we're just going to take this window that you can go back and look at our financials.
Mhm.
And we're going to cut it down to what is it? I think it's 2 months now. The
Yeah,
look
they
back
cut it
window
down
is 2 months.
substantially too, which is
Yeah, from
crazy.
18 months to 2 months.
Yeah, how fair is that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it's 3 months. So, this is, this is getting deep, but that is a little bit Big Brother-ish.
It is. And it's
No?
interesting too. The FTC was definitely cracking down. We'll see what happens as the new administration and the Lena Khan
Mhm.
leaves and who's going to fulfill that role. I browse the seller forums pretty often, and it's between the fees and everything else. Pretty cutthroat, but hopefully we
Yeah.
start to see improvements um, and things just get easier for sellers. But regardless, they
Yeah.
have service providers like yourself who are doing these things and are altruistic in nature and looking to help sellers kind of get to the next level. Because
Yeah.
whether you sell only on Amazon or you're D2C and you're in retail, Amazon is part of the shopper journey.
Yep.
It provides validation and authority when you have products on there and you have lots of reviews. So at the moment, whether you like it or not, it's almost like a necessary evil.
Yeah.
But on that note, let's jump into ecom triage.
Okay.
Can you walk us through? Sorry. Let's jump in to talk about ecom triage. For
Yep.
sellers considering ecom triage, what does onboarding look like? Like what type? So you do the review removal, but what are your list of services? And then if I'm a seller in the supplement category, what would it look like to work together for the first couple months?
Cool. So, I mean, my core interest is what do you need, right?
Mm,
Because as a seller of what, 14 years now, and in the software and service space for 6 years now, I've developed a network. And so I went, you know, what the hell am I doing? Like, why don't I just leverage my network for my people, the sellers, right?
mm,
Um, so I do offer services, and my wife once told me, "Hey, you need to be keeping track of what you're doing because you're not making any money doing what you're doing, right?" I'm like, man, yeah, fine. So I started keeping track of all the introductions I'm doing tacitly, like not with any real dedication. I've done hundreds.
Wow.
And so I've got a spreadsheet of all these introductions because look, I'm not necessarily the guy that's going to solve all your problems,
Mm,
but I know one or two or three or even five people that can help you. I'll refer you to every single one of them and leave it up to you to determine who's the best. It doesn't matter to me. Most
mm,
of these people, 90 shoot, 99.9% of the referrals I've made, I'm not made a dollar on, right? That
mm,
wasn't about that, right? So, but ecom triage, the purpose of the company, and it's been evolving, especially in the last 3 weeks, because I've really ramped it up in the last 3 weeks, and put a wet my website's there now, and
mhm,
as of last night, stuff like that. So I want to help you locate where are you losing money, where are you spending money you shouldn't be, and where are you not saving money that leads to profit, right?
mm.
And I was literally just on with Gary Huang. I don't know if you know who that is.
I don't.
Okay, Seven Figure Seller Summit. He's in Japan. He helps
Okay.
sellers launch into Japan.
Oh.
Um, and he was saying that you make your money on the front end, not the back end. So on the sourcing, the logistics, and stuff like that, right? And so if I can help a seller who's importing a product, I'll give you a perfect example. Help a seller that's importing a product. They've never done a tariff code inspection. Well,
Mm,
good. I'm going to refer you out to Alpha Lobby because he does that, right? He
mm,
does tariff code engineering. He'll find you a better code 60 to 80% of the time. You find a better code, you use that, you save that money on every freaking shipment you do from
mhm.
here on
Adds
out,
up. Those nickels
right?
and dimes add up.
Exactly. But in some cases, it's dollars,
Wow.
you know?
Yeah.
So there was one person that saved like 28 grand on their next shipment.
That's pretty
That's,
substantial.
yeah. Now that's a crazy example. That's going from paying 27% to paying 2.7% or something like
Yeah.
that, right? But what if you could save 5%, right?
Yeah.
That's pure profit, right?
Yep.
So, um, just getting you to the right person is often what I do. But of course, I have to have services because as a company, I need to generate money. So, review removal is one of the things I do. So, that's an audit on your reviews. And then I'll be able to remove over the course of months. This is not a instantaneous process, but
Yeah.
within the first couple of weeks, you'll see reviews drop off. But I'll be over months, I'll be able to remove somewhere between 5 and 15% of your critical reviews. Even if you don't have a star rating changed, I have seen the BSR decrease, and I have been told by customers, because I don't have access to this data, that they've seen a conversion rate increase,
Nice.
which could potentially
Makes
lead
sense.
to decrease in PPC costs, right?
Yeah.
I've got another product called Catalog Defender, and that's with my partner Mark, and that's ASIN monitoring. And
Mm,
the concept of ASIN monitoring is nothing new, but our cost is like 50% of what's out there.
mm.
And the claim to fame is that we can monitor for split reviews, so child ASINs that don't have the same number of reviews as the parent ASIN, and that can
Oh,
definitely affect your marketing
yeah.
and your sales and stuff like that, right? And if you don't know that's an issue, you don't know that you your green gloves don't sell because they've got 2 reviews on them and it's sitting at a 3.5 star, right?
Mm-hmm.
But your black gloves sell 14,000 units a month, right? And you're
Mm-hmm.
like, this just doesn't make sense. Well, as it turns out, nobody's seeing the green review gloves because they only have 2 reviews, because the reviews are not split, and they are split and not aggregated to
Yeah.
the parent, right? So, and then the cost on this is inconsequential. Our most expensive price is 50 cents an ASIN,
Mm.
but this is for people with larger catalogs. So
Yeah.
our minimum price to monitor is $50 a month,
Mm-hmm.
but you should have at least 100 ASINs if you're going to be coming to us. And then the last part on that is a single dashboard that's prioritized with the issues that are costing you the most money. So it's based on BSR,
Mm.
right? So the higher or the lower the BSR, that is what you see at the top. Like, you've got a critical issue with this one, it's costing you the most money. Start here,
Yeah.
right? And so you can task that to a company, to a VA, not us, not yet, at least.
Yeah.
Um, but like we're partnered with Seller Candy.
Oh
Um,
yeah, John's shop. They do really good work. That's cool.
yeah, yeah, John Cavendish, yeah, Cavendish, Dish,
Dish.
Dish,
Close enough.
yeah. So yeah, and then so there's review removal, catalog defender, and then I have a friend who's been running PPC for since it released on Amazon,
Wow.
and so he has done. This is a white label for another agency that I helped bring him into. I won't divulge who that is. They
Mm-hmm.
don't do it anymore, but he has done thousands of audits on
Wow.
people's PPC accounts. Um, and our last client together, we saved them. Now this is 3 months, so this is onboarding month one, 2 months of getting everything else cleaned up and just like to a point where we can turn it back over to the customer.
Mm.
We saved them, let's see, 50, I think it was $53,000.
Wow. I believe it though. Wasted ad
Yeah,
spend, it can escalate quickly, that's for sure.
totally. Yeah. And the problem is, and not everyone's like this, but the problem is that a lot of people, you ask them, how are your sales? Oh, they're good. Cool. How would you increase them? More money to ads.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily true. It works, but if you could scale back, let's say you spend 50K a month. This is what they were spending, 70, 50 to 70. We scaled them back to 20 something, 30 grand a month,
Yeah.
and they had a better conversion rate. They had
Mm.
less sales, right? They had
Yeah.
less sales, but those were unprofitable sales,
Yeah.
right? And so, and we doubled their conversion rate during this
That's
time
amazing.
and decreased their A cost by, I think, 7 or 10%, something like that. So that's that. So there's review removal, there's catalog monitoring, there's
And the
PPC
PPC
audits,
audit.
and then just generally, I'll consult any seller. I'll consult any agency, because there's so many people I know. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you need a solution in place, you know, let's do it. Let's get it in
Mm-hmm.
place. What do you need? Cool. Let's implement. So
Yeah.
I'm really big for like, what's the problem? Great, let's fix the problem.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And very purpose driven too. I mean, you're out helping sellers in the community because
Yeah,
Amazon makes enough money off the sellers. So everything you do, whether it's optimizing your operational efficiency, removing these reviews to improve conversion rates, which leads to more sales, or understanding like what's the point of diminishing returns with your advertising spend and how to
yeah,
optimize for profitability. These are three huge pieces that contribute to your overall profitability on Amazon. And
yeah,
we're all in the business of making money, so these are
exactly.
definitely aspects that sellers should consider and definitely be working with. So this
Yeah.
was super
I,
helpful. Get
yeah, I just want to say one last thing real quick is that I don't necessarily just want you to make more money. I want you to take home more money, right?
Yeah, it's a big
So,
difference.
yeah. So I used to be embarrassed to tell people that I was not a seven-figure seller, but I had a 66% profit margin.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. This is back in the time when we were really actually running our Amazon business. Now it's sort
Yeah.
of on automatic. It's not 60% anymore because fees and all that stuff. And we haven't changed our price in almost 10 years. But
Wow.
uh, but at the time, like people would say, yeah, I'm a seven-figure seller. And I had a buddy that was doing 2 point something, 2 million a year and had a warehouse and staff. And I was like, man, I wish I was doing your numbers. That would be freaking sweet. And he told me what his profit was once. It was like 7%.
Wow.
He was taking home 7%. I'm like, bro, I make more money than you.
That's crazy. There
And
you
he's
go.
like, yeah. And so I will, that's the purpose of triage, ecom triage. I forget my own company's name. That's the purpose of ecom triage. Can you take home more money,
Mm,
right? While still delivering what is, ultimately a good product.
yeah.
So profitability comes through organization, comes through figuring out what the heck's wrong in the first place. And you just handle one fire at a time.
Mm. Yeah, can't tackle them all, and it's better to focus on one issue at a time. I think if anybody's read Traction, Gino Wickman, it's the rock concept. Are you pulling the book out? That's funny. I
Yeah.
got mine on the shelf right behind me.
Oh
Right here.
yeah. I don't have a cover though because my children like to steal my book covers. But yes.
Save it. I
Yeah,
get,
try.
you know what? I have tough time reading with the covers on, so I always take them off and lose them. But say
Oh,
love it.
nice.
Yeah,
But yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
Well, Dana, this was super helpful. Just so all our listeners know, I have links to your website, your social media profile,
Yep.
and all that information. So if you need to, I believe I have your LinkedIn too. So if anybody needed to reach out, we can definitely find them in the show notes. We have a
Cool.
tradition here on the Selling on Giants podcast. I'm going to ask you to pull out your crystal ball and do a bit of a prediction on how you see the future of e-commerce and technology shaping the way sellers do business. So, with that being said, with the rapid evolution of e-commerce platforms and tools, what emerging trends or innovations do you think will have the biggest impact on how sellers optimize their business and maintain a competitive edge?
All right. So in I think that I'm going to speak from us as Amazon sellers
Mhm.
and ecom sellers. And this is actually a trend that I'm going to try and personally push to emerge.
Mhm.
But I think what needs to happen is that, you know, because we've got inflation, we've got rising prices, everyone needs to focus. So I believe that part of this is Amazon pushing out the problem childs, which are like we have 50 million sellers that all have 13 units taking up rack space, right?
Mhm.
And so let's push them out financially. I think that's probably a small part of this at least. But I think that we all need to pay attention to where every cost is. And you
Mhm.
can't do that without tracking it. And so I think that we're going to have a time where we're going to see more ecom, and we are seeing this already, but more ecom solutions coming to bear,
Mhm.
right? And Amazon is going to lose market share
Yeah.
on and become more of a niche. It's no longer the everything store
Mhm.
because you want Chinese crap, good, go to Amazon Hall, go
Yep.
to Temu, go
Timu,
to
Xi'an,
Shine,
yeah,
Shein.
whatever it is.
Exactly. You want fads, go to TikTok, right?
Mhm.
You want quality products? Well, go somewhere else. Where is that
Mhm.
else? Don't know yet. But I'm hoping that Rivley, have you heard of Rivley yet?
No, I haven't heard of Rivley.
Check out Rivley.com. Yeah, so they're an emerging ecom platform that is
Hmm.
strictly for US businesses. It
Oh,
is
okay.
it is to keep the revenue inside of the United States.
Wow, that's a
And
great business model. Wow.
yeah. So these these guys that are starting it are Amazon sellers to this day.
Hmm.
They've already sold at least they sold one brand. So they scaled and sold one brand, and they're still selling on Amazon today. And they have taken their experience as Amazon sellers and tried to develop into fixing everything that is wrong with the review system, with the
Hmm.
seller performance system, with the brand gating and all that kind of stuff. Like you get your brand on there, it belongs to you. It does
Wow.
not belong to somebody else. You can approve or decline other sellers, but that brand is yours.
Wow.
So yeah, they've been putting this together for years, and they're like this close. But check them out, Rivley.com. I really like the guys involved, and I so but anyhow, to answer the question, I believe that we're going to see diversification
Mm.
on platforms. Um, I personally am starting to lean more towards going to Shopify sites like individual brand sites
Yeah.
because I literally don't trust what I see on Amazon anymore.
Hmm.
I don't trust it to be accurate. I don't trust the reviews. I don't trust that the claims that they make are true because not only have I been burned too many times, but I'm in the business of
Yeah.
finding the untrustworthy areas, you
Yeah.
know, which
Yeah.
makes it hard to trust
Yeah.
anymore. But
Exactly.
that's what I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see ecom diversification, and I think that ecom sellers need to diversify with that and not just only put all of your eggs in the Amazon basket
Yeah.
because that's if you have all of your eggs in one basket, that basket happens to be a schizophrenic and is
Yeah.
completely unpredictable.
Yeah. It's very risky too. With one policy change, one algorithmic flag, and
Yep.
you could be out of business. It's very risky. And I like the Shopify point of view too. A lot of sellers, I know they have trouble with the branding aspect, and there's a lot more components to Shopify, but you own the
For sure.
data, your profitability is better. You can do
Yep.
retention marketing and understand lifetime value a lot better than
Yep.
you can on Amazon. And what you said is spot on. We're seeing it now, but the diversifications and you have it really lined up really well with Temu, Shein, TikTok, like the different audiences and the type of shopping expectations. So
Mm-hmm.
we could see just more of that market share. I'm sure Amazon will, they're big. They're going to be able to put their hands all over the place, but sellers have more options and there's more opportunities to get in front of niche audiences. So
Yeah.
if it happens here, you predicted it first.
Yeah. Well, let's actually go back in time a little bit. What's the handmade platform where
Oh, Etsy,
thank you. Yes, Etsy. So Etsy was blowing up like crazy. What did Amazon come out with?
handmade.
You got it.
Yeah.
Amazon handmade. Timu and Shein Shine Shiny, they're blowing up like crazy. What's Amazon come up with? Amazon
Oh,
Haul,
yep.
right? So they're always going to do something to try and capture the audience. We'll probably see segmentation inside of Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
right? We've got Amazon Business, we've got Amazon
Yep.
Haul that's cheap crap, right?
Yep.
Supposedly. Um, and then we got Amazon as a whole, but Amazon Handmade tried to go into competition. They're trying to be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't want that. I just want trustworthy data. And
Yep.
Amazon's not trustworthy to me anymore. And so
It's
now I'm going
losing
to go
faith. And a lot of sellers, especially if you check the forums and community, like, and you know it too, like it's difficult to operate on. It's hard now because they have a lot of share of the e-commerce, so that's definitely what keeps brand on the platform and shoppers keep coming back.
I mean, I shop like we spend tons of money on there and do Whole Foods and get our
Yep.
orders delivered and stuff like that. Yes,
Same
it's
here.
totally convenient. All I'm saying is that I think that what we're going to find is people that have buyer intent are going to end up going more towards Google to
Mm,
find brands, to then locate a brand story and develop a relationship with a brand and go, cool. Yeti is my brand for my
mm,
cups. Stanley is my brand for my cups.
yeah.
Benchmade is my brand for my knives. Like these are
Yeah.
known names, but that's effectively what they did, these brands. They
Yeah.
created their own market by becoming a trustworthy quality brand. And I just don't think there's enough of that anymore. And that's what I want to see happen. And Amazon, I'd like to see Amazon become the secondary marketplace just to protect your brand.
Beautiful. Well, we'll see. We'll see if it happens. And I like your crystal ball. Let's see what happens in the future. But thanks, Danan, for sharing all your valuable insights and expertise with us today. It's been
Yes.
a pleasure having you on the show. But before we wrap up, can you let our listeners where they can find you and anything exciting, any upcoming projects you want to share?
Yeah. So you can find me on ecomtriage.com. Well, you can find my website there. But I just launched it. So depending on when this is coming out, as long as I've got all my forms working and stuff like that, you'll be able to reach me. But alternatively, look me up on LinkedIn. It's Danan. Danan is spelled Delta Alpha November Alpha November. So Danan Coleman, Coleman like the lunchbox.
Beautiful.
So
And we'll
as
have those links inside of the show notes just in case anybody's having trouble. If you're listening in the car, we got you. Just look at the show notes after the show.
Yep. Yep. And projects I'm working on, I pretty much just laid them all out for
Nice.
you to see.
Amen to that. Well, Dana, thanks so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it. Enjoy the rest
Thanks,
of your
Will.
day.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much. See ya.
That wraps up today's episode of Selling on Giants. A huge thanks to Danan for sharing his expertise and giving us practical strategies to spot fraudulent reviews, boost ratings, and safeguard our Amazon listings. If you found this episode helpful, please take a moment to leave us a review wherever you're listening. It helps us reach more sellers like yourself. And don't forget to share this episode with a friend or colleague who could benefit from these insights. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Selling on Giants.